Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Adam Ratliff with Adam So Fun, and today we are going to put a facing on a quilt while it's still on the frame. So what is a facing? A facing is an alternate way to, for lack of a better word, bind a quilt. And so this is a Dream Big panel. This is the first Dream Big panel I ever created. I free motioned this. But if you look at where the binding would go, there's not a binding there. We do what's called a facing, and we sew the facing on as if we were putting on binding. It's a little bit different. To me, it's so much easier. But when the quilt is finished, it gives this illusion that like the quilt is going to continue off into the sides. It's kind of a more modern way to bind your quilts or to finish your quilts. Facings can be any size. This one it's probably a 2-inch strip that I used for here. I've made them where it was an 8-inch strip that I folded in half, so it was nice and fat. I've done them, I think today I have a 3-inch strip we're going to use, so it's going to give us a little more in the back. But it just is a way to finish the quilts and give the illusion that the quilt kind of continues off in the distance. There's no end point to that quilt. Like I said, you'll see it more in some of the modern quilts. I want to say my carpal tunnel quilt, I put a facing on. So the outside edge of that carpal tunnel quilt was a lot of straight lines. I'll place I'll place a picture here or whatever. But there's all those 1-inch strips. One color wouldn't have done it justice going around there. So instead of just any color, I just put a facing on. Everything gets flipped to the back and then stitched on, and it gives the illusion of the quilt just ends. So I'm going to put a facing on. You see, I'm going to stitch in orange thread. In real life, I probably would use the green that I used in my quilt top, but this isn't real life. It is real life, but you know what I mean. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm using some functions in the Pro Stitcher that came along with my machine to help me square this up and keep everything straight. These digitized designs are usually digitized a little bit smaller than the panel itself. So I can't just cut on the lines of the panel. And also when we're lining them up, sometimes they don't line up perfect and you don't get a straight edge on the side. So I always come in a little bit. I'm going to trim a little bit of that stuff off. That doesn't bother me any. If it bothers you and you're like, oh no, I have to be super precise, then you're going to have that straight line and you don't have to kind of go through this, but you will have to give yourself some points so you can measure. So I'm basically stitching out my outside border because I'm going to need to measure it and get those measurements to then cut my pieces. So first thing first, I stitched this bottom row, and I was going to stitch this whole thing and thought, well, I'm making this video. Why don't I show people how to do it? So I'll tell you what I did. I started over here, needle down, pulled up my bobbin, did all that stuff. And then I went to my measure tool. And if you've never used that measure tool, the measure tool will actually measure how big things are on your quilt. So if you have a quilt block and you're like, ooh, how big is this? You can measure how big that quilt block is and have it in 30 seconds. But I turned measure on. I also turned my horizontal channel lock on, and I stitched a straight line all the way across. Now I'm to the right, and I stitched 42.52 inches. So I know my width. So now I need to stitch up. I'm going to leave measure on. This isn't really going to work because we're going to have to drag and drop. But I'm going to leave measure on because I'm going to have to do a little bit of math this time. So measure is on and my vertical channel lock is on. And you know what? Let me bring you over here so you can see my screen. I'll see you back here in a second. Alright, here we are. This is my screen. You can see that I have measure selected. Measure is one of my buttons in my quick access tools. If you don't have measure there and you're like, oh, I want to put it there, remember we can go up to our settings button, tap on settings. On the left, we want display selected. It's our default. And then over here, assign. I can touch assign and it's going to give me these little carrots. And then you can just pick one that you don't use, and then you have all of these options you can change those to. So that's how you change those quick access tools, and then we can just go back and hit assign to turn that off. If you don't want to put measure there because you use all 10 of these and you still want to be able to use measure, that's going to be under your Pro Stitcher tab. Remember, anything under our Pro Stitcher tab means that the Pro Stitcher needs to move in order to make that work. So we have measure right up here, and you can see it's also green. So when you select it at one place, it's going to select both. So our channel lock is on, our vertical channel lock, our measure is on, and you can see right here my X, which is right and left, is 42.52. That's how far I moved, so I'm just going to say 42.5. And I wrote it down wrong, and I wrote that value down on a piece of paper because I need to remember how big the width is, because I'm going to need to cut my my strip to 42.5. Now I'm going to stitch up, and if you look, oops, I kicked the frame. Oops, I think I need to pause. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Where my tripod was, it was not letting me tighten my camera angle back. So now my needle's down. I haven't done anything. My channel locks are on, so my vertical channel locks are on, and I'm going to start stitching up. So I'm just going to hit my start button, and I'm going to stitch back as far as I can. I'm stopping because I'm up against the back, and there's my screen. There's my outdoor. It's beautiful. Don't look at the sweeper, the broom. I'm gonna hit my house. Bottom house is refreshed, and now I can see I went up 14.87 inches. So I'm gonna write that down. Now I need to advance this, so I'm going to take off my side clamps and do everything to advance this. I'm not going to make you wait for me to advance this, so I'll see you when it's advanced in a second. Alright, so we are advanced. Let me show you. I'm back down to the beginning, and I want to show you my screen because this is where things are going to get a little bit dicey. I'm going to hit my refresh house, my bottom house, and now my my Y is negative 4.57 because I've advanced. I've actually moved the machine back this way, and my needle was down because I didn't move my needle. My vertical channel locks are still on. Everything's held in place. So what I'm going to do is because we know that first stitch. We know that first line of stitching was that, 14.87. So I'm going to hit measure and turn it off. And I'm going to hit measure and turn it back on. And it's going to refresh it. Okay? So now I'm going to stitch my next pass.
I'm not sure I understand.
So here I go. I'm going to stitch my next pass. Just hit my start. My channel locks are still on. Everything is still set the same. All right, we're going to tilt you back up. Oh, I hit the camera. And you can't see this, but now this number right here is 20.18. So I'm going to write that down. And I'm going to have to advance one more time, so we'll see you back here in a second. All right, I've advanced again. We're right back. This is exactly what we did a second ago. If I hit refresh, we can see that I'm back to 2.05. I don't want that. I'm going to hit measure, turn it off, and hit it one more time to refresh it. And there we go. And then now we're almost to the end. So now I'm here. And I'm going to stitch up. I want to be back here. And I'm going to look at my top edge. And you know my joke. My top edge is the only edge that's ever straight because I use a plumb line. That doesn't mean the designs are straight. So I'm going to stitch up to this top edge, but I'm going to stitch up, maybe give myself a quarter to a half an inch. Let's say 3/8 of an inch. So let me stitch up. I'm just going to hit start. Okay, well that's a little bit more than a quarter and a little bit less than a half. So I will go back to my screen, hit my house, and now I'm 7.61. So now I know the width of this. I know from left to right, I need to have it at 42.5. So I'm gonna cross my fingers, because we know that the long arms do not like to stitch from right to left. They like to stitch from left to right. So my fingers are crossed, my channel lock is on, and I'm going to attempt to stitch from right to left, because I need to be over there. So I have my horizontal channel locks on, and I'm going to stitch until my X says 42.5. And there it goes, it's shredded. Alright, so I rethreaded it. I'm going to stitch over it, and I'm going to try to stitch it and keep everything nice and still. I was working around the camera before. The nice thing is, even if my thread broke, my channel lock's still on and I didn't change measure, so I still can see that number. So I'm going to continue stitching across. I'm sorry if my arm gets in the way. And let me move the camera. Alright, so my number now is 39.03. I need to be 42.5. So I need 2 more inches. So I'm going to stitch over 40, 41. I'm a half inch away. I'm going to refresh because I want to keep all this in my screen. And 42, so I'm 42.53. I was 42.52 before, so I'm going to say, hey, you're perfect, I love it. So now I'm going to change my channel lock. I don't have to have measure on. I'm not going to measure anything else. I know how far my sides are because I already measured the other side. So I'm just going to stitch down. Let me turn you down. I'm just going to stitch down this side, which it looks like I'm taking a nice bite out of this side because I got really close to the other side. That's okay, I'm okay with that. So my channel lock is changed, stitch. Don't stitch your leaders, that would be a bad day. I'm going to advance and I'll see you back here in a second. Alright, so there we are. My start and my end, right back at the same spot. No longer really have to do anything on the screen, so I'm going to turn off my channel lock. So now that everything's stitched and I have my orange square, I can look at my numbers. And I have my 42 and a half, and it's actually 42.66 going my vertical length. So now I'm going to go to my cutting board and I'm going to cut my horizontal, because I'm going to put my horizontal pieces on first and they want to be exact. So my horizontal strips I'm going to cut to 42.5, and this strip for my vertical strips I'm going to take 1 inch off of that. So I'm going to do it at 41 and a half. So I'll have a horizontal strip 42 and a half, and my vertical strips will be 41 and a half. So I will see you back here after I cut those. And I'm also going to be putting on my square foot. The square foot just makes life so much easier for any type of binding or facing when you're using the long arm. So I will see you back here when all of those are put on and my strips are cut. All right, so we're back. I have my strips cut and I've stuck my square foot on. You'll see it up close in a second. So now we're going to sew our strips. I'm going to start with the top and the bottom because I figure those are going to be easiest because I don't have to continue to advance as I am stitching it down. So I have the placement line. We stitched that together. You saw me stitch that. What I'm going to do is take one of my strips. I have to keep these separate from the other ones because remember, these ones are going to be the width. So these are 42.5 inches. I know that it's 42.5 the width because I use my measure tool. So if this were on, like if you did it like this and measured it on the edge of your quilt, that's fine, like because I'm cutting some of mine off. But I'm going to lay this using the edge of my stitches as my guide. And I'm just going to lay this on. Remember, everything outside of this is getting cut off. So now I have my strip on. And all I have to do is stitch this down. So I'm going to bring you close so you can see. And but I probably won't. I don't want to work around you because I actually want to stitch this on pretty nice. But I'm using my square foot. It's a 1/4 inch. Actually, let me bring you close. Hold on. Okay, so here's my square foot. You can see that there. And the square foot basically has straight edges. Why I use my square foot and not my just regular foot, because both of them are going to be a 1/4 inch from the edge of the foot. Why I use the square foot is the square foot has this straight edge in the front, and I'm going to run that straight edge right along the edge of my fabric, and by doing that, I'm going to get a nice 1/4 inch stitch all the way across. I'm going to start on the left, stitch all the way to the right. I can stitch off, it's okay. Everything outside of this is getting cut off. So I'm coming back over to my start point. The hardest thing is to get all the fabric under that foot, because now we have a lot of layers going on here. Needle up, needle down to bring up my bobbin. And I always just do a few needle up, needle downs. And I'm going to make sure this is in line. I don't want to pull this fabric at all. And there's a lot going on because now I have 2 layers of batting, the top, the backing, and now 2 more layers of fabric. So I'm just going to kind of hold this, and I'm stitching right across. My stitches are 10 stitches per inch. The other stitches I had basted, so they were only at 5. I'm just going to stitch straight across. I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm going to try to hold everything steady. I could bring out a ruler. This is another place where that Versa tool might come in if I had trouble with this shifting. If I do have trouble, I might pick a ruler up, but it seems like it's going to do okay. 10 stitches per inch. I do not have my channel locks on. I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to use the edge of the foot. I can usually drive pretty good. And I'm going to stitch all the way across this. So now I have my first edge stitched on. And I'm going to advance so I can get to the top. Alright, so now I'm at the top. I have my orange line. I have my strip. And I'm going to do the same thing. Now I get people that send me messages and say, you know, because of the bulk and, you know, not the bulk, but because of the amount of fabric and everything, that they sometimes have their strips shift. Because there's just, like I said, there's a lot going on. You can use pins to hold things. Like I said, maybe I'll grab the Versa tool this time. It got out of, I push, like when I finger walk things or I hold them myself, I tend to hold them right off of being straight, which that last section definitely did not stay as straight as I'd like. But that's why we have rulers and things. And you definitely can use a ruler and the square feet at the same time. And on the Versa tool, just in case you didn't know this, you do have little there's a dash line here and here. This one, it's etch line, and the stitches will connect that etch line to this one. But the edge of the ruler, this top edge of the ruler, is also a 1/4 inch away from the stitching. So I can line the edge of the ruler up on the back side of the fabric. So I have the edge lined up with the cut edge. And that's giving me a perfect 1/4 inch. I do have my ruler base on. Did my tie off, pull up and down. So now these next two sides, we'll just do, let's see, can we see that side? I'll just move it. We'll do this side first. So now we're going to stitch down the side. This is going to be a little tricky, and I am going to use my Versa tool to help me. This is cut an inch smaller than this this edge, and really we just need these edges to overlap a little bit. Ooh. So I'm not going all the way to the corner. I just need this to be covered on like the edge of this strip, somewhere in the middle of the strip we're covering. I'm going to bring it down about a 1/2 inch because, like I said, I took a little bit of it. I took a 1/2 inch off. I think I took a little more than a 1/2 inch off because I knew I had extra fat strips to work with. So I just have my fabric laying there. Again, the hardest thing is getting the everything, because now I have an extra layer or 2 extra layers at the beginning because because I'm adding another strip. Sometimes it's easier to add that after when you're stitching, because the hopping foot is hopping and you can hop on top of it. So I have my edge of my strip lined up. Everything's lined up. I'm going to use my Versa tool, and I'm going to cheat it really close to this to help me get on top of that fabric strip. Now I'm on it, and I can help hold everything down. Make sure everything's nice in line. And I'm just going to stitch all the way down the edge, making sure things are lined up. And let's be honest, I'm going to make sure they're lined up okay, kind of straight. I don't care if it's not perfect, because this is Adam So Fun and he likes quilting and doesn't care if things are absolutely perfect. I will fold my strip over. I'll fold my strip over because I need to advance. Try not to eat up my ruler or my strip. I hit the camera again, sorry. Do my next section, and in this I should be able to do it in 2.5 sections, because that's how many times I needed to add. I didn't put my side clamps on. If it were a bigger quilt, I would have. Since this is so small, just 40 by 40, I'm not worried about it. I'm going to be able to pull it taut enough as it is. There we are. Fold everything up one more time to advance. And hope that I measured correctly. So I'm folding that back down. Remember, everything on the outside of this is going to get cut off. This is how, like I said, I kind of pushed it off center. And we'll bring this here. And I'm a little bit short, but I think this is going to work. I don't know why I'm a little bit short. I probably cut wrong. But surprise, it's Adam So Fun. I'm going to leave it like this because I want to see if this is going to work, because that's going to be encased. And let's see. We're going to try it. Like I always say, I always show you when I make a mistake. But when I stitch this, I want to stitch all the way off the edge. And tie off. So this will be a good lesson of if it's going to work or not. Luckily, I know who's getting this, so if it's not actually perfect, they aren't going to worry that much because they're getting a free gift. I think I was really close to the camera. All right, so let's jump to the other side, and we're going to do that one more time. But this time I'm going to work my way up. That, going up. And I'm going to get closer to the edge the other way. I know one of these I thought, oh, I'm going to make it an inch smaller, but I think I made it like 2 inches smaller, which didn't give me much play, which I think is probably the other one. Pulling up my bobbin thread, using my tie off, lining everything up, grabbing my Versa tool. I love this play-by-play. Stitching. You do have to be careful using the square foot when you hit this back. The back side is angled and kind of not beveled, but it is angled. So you can't actually use it here because of the back of the foot. But I can stitch close to the edge. So I might just get close and then stop. Close and stop. And you'll notice I do stop my machine when I move my ruler. There you have it. Now my facing's on. Give me a second. I'm going to move the camera. Alright, so the facing's stitched on. Now's my favorite part. And I get to take the quilt off the frame. So, if you remember from so long ago, I put the zipper leaders on. That side's done. Done. And now my quilt is off the frame. The zippers are still attached, so I'm going to take the pins out. But I don't have to stand at my machine and do that. I can stand right here on my cutting table, which is really high, and not hurt my back and worry about things. I haven't found my magnetic pin cushions yet. So here's one zipper. that will get used later today. One quilt off, one quilt on. I'm also going to start my iron. Let's see, let me pop the other side. So this is the advantage, one of the advantages of zippers. Yes, I'm still using pins, but I'm not pinning at the quilt top. I can maneuver the fabric any way I like. I can sit on the couch and watch TV. I can do whatever I want when I'm pinning this on. And it's just so much easier when you're not constricted, especially if you don't have space. Like I can get to the back of my machine, but I have to squeeze over on the side. Now I can just sit here and put my zippers on. So I'm going to cut this, and I am going to cut on the outside of that stitch line. Let me move my ironing board. Ow. I'm kicking things. I was just telling someone earlier, I said, in my videos, you only see the clean parts of the room. This isn't one of those only clean parts of the room video. Slide it down. Slide my cutting board down. Oh, that worked better. Right. I love these. This is a Quilter Select ruler. If you haven't seen these, they have a non-stick on the back. This one is the 8.5 by 24. It's my favorite size. I use it the most. But if you do any type of strip cutting, holy cow, this ruler is amazing. Because I am the person who can cut really good until the end, and then I do this. And that non-stick on the back of this works fantastic. The downfall is sometimes I like to slide my ruler down, especially when I'm trimming my quilts. That's how non-stick it is. So usually when I'm trimming quilts, I pick my other one up. Because I can cut and just slide it really easily. Every time I turn it, the corner catches something on my desk and throws it on the ground. Life of a quilter. I know. That was my 45. I'm gonna use my 60. Watching me trim quilts, isn't this engaging? Oh my gosh. I'm so weird, everyone. Thank you for following a weirdo like me. You've probably already tuned out. That's okay. For those of you stuck around, thank you. You're amazing. You're amazing. You're gorgeous. You're fabulous. You're beautiful. Stunning. I'm really interested if that one corner is going to work. All right, so make sure my cutters are closed. That's upside down. And this is just a piece of plywood that I wrapped in cotton batting, 100% cotton batting. And then just threw some fabric on top. I do have a nail, or not a nail gun, but a staple gun that I bought. I just haven't got there yet. So now I'm going to hit the sides with some steam. This is the short one. Okay, so here's the thing. One edge you can flip up. One edge you can't. It has pockets. The corners have been made into pockets. Can you see this? Okay, you can see that. So the corners have been made in the pockets. So basically the sides are getting tucked up in that pocket when we flip it around. So this I have like a 1/4 inch if I'm lucky. It's going to be close. The other thing, I have wool batting in this. And I want to press this and I want to steam the heck out of it. And I still want it to be puffy. So I have to be really careful because if I press right here and steam it, I'm going to push all that wool batting down. So I'm going to get just super close to the edge when I do this. And don't burn yourself. I'm going to hit these corners too just to see, because I really do want to see if this is going to work. Because if it doesn't, it's going to be in next week's live whenever I say, oh my gosh, you guys, here's something that didn't work. So now, next step. So I've steamed it. I'm going to fold this. And I'm going to flip it over. I want to fold this and I want the edge. Oh no, sorry, next step. I want to clip my corners. Now when you do this, you have to be very careful you don't clip that seam. But we're going to clip the corners just like anything else that we've done. I use a purple thing. I had to go get it. I need scissors. I know where some are. I thought I knew where somewhere. These will work. So I'm going to clip the corner. We don't want to get into that corner stitch. And a matter of fact, if you can clip that corner and leave the two pieces of facing alone, like don't trim the facing part, you might have better luck. Because you're not going to accidentally cut something off. So we're just trying to pull bulk out of that corner. And I usually trim them at a little bit of a V. And we're just going to do 2 because you don't need to watch me do this whole thing. And let's be honest, this isn't going to be finished until 2024. Because this does have to be hand stitched down, and we know how much I like that. If you're the recipient of this, congratulations, you get to hand stitch it yourself. All right, so I'm going to fold my corner in. We'll pretend I did these on all sides. Get my purple thing. I already lost my purple thing. If you follow me on social media, you know I love the purple thing. They end up everywhere. I find them in my car. When I was selling a car, I went to like empty out my glove box and there was purple things. I think I had multiple. Uh-oh, I just stuck my purple thing through the corner. I will tack that with when I stitch the binding down or the borders down. But I find these everywhere in my nightstand too. Why do you need a purple thing in your nightstand? Just in case. I don't know. Weird. I just like them. So I'm going to press this, or I'm going to fold this so the seam is right at the end. And this is where Wonder Clips come in really nice. And I just start in one place so that I can get everything nice and good. And I start to press and steam. Press and steam. Press and steam. Don't melt your purple thing. And I'm steaming now, but I'm steaming through a lot of layers, so it's going to be okay. It's not going to press down that batting anymore because I have a little bit of a buffer zone. I'm happy to report that little corner is going to work. Ooh, fold and... Don't leave your iron down too long. And there you have a facing. So I would just continue that around, go all the way, once you have it all, gosh, that looks good. Oh, that looks really good. That looks really good. Sometimes I am proud of myself. It makes me want to finish it so I can send it to the owner. So some things about facings. When you sew it down, because you're going to hand sew this. Remember, I made an extra wide one. I like an extra wide facing. If you make an extra wide facing, you can just grab a fabric pin and then write the name of the quilt and your name and who quilted it and all that info right on the facing, and then you don't have to make a label. I hate making labels. But you also, when you stitch this down, you're going to want to come back in and stitch down the pocket. So the pocket is basically getting stitched right down onto that other facing strip. So remember, if we recap, your first two strips, either right and left or top and bottom usually work a little bit easier, are going to be the exact same size as the edge of your quilt. Grab a tape. I have a tape hanging right on my frame. Measure it, same exact size. The sides are going to be that same size minus an inch. And really, they just need to come in, and I would say give yourself at least a ½ inch into your other strip. So if you make a super deep one, a 4-inch, maybe you can take 2 inches off, but rule of thumb is an inch. You just want to keep some of that bulk out of that corner. I forgot how beautiful this is. So remember, this is the Dream Big Holiday panel. This is the design available at Quiltable by A Bit Orange. So A Bit Orange is the digitizer. They are selling through Quiltable. They also sell through their own website. But if you go to quiltable.com and you use ASF10, Adam So Fun 10, ASF10, you'll get 10% off your total purchase. And this was all done with Pro Stitcher. You can see those videos in a series. I believe there was 3 of them. This is just a fantastic. I hope you can see that. I hope you can. I have an idea. It's all about the lighting. Oh, wait. I think this is the wrong lighting, but if I do this, that might be the right lighting. Oh, my tippy toes. So that is the poinsettia quilt. Designed by Bit Orange. Thank you, Bit Orange, for such a fantastic design. Thank you for letting me use it in my videos. And thank you for everyone else who has been making them and sending me pictures. Fantastic. What else? Like, subscribe, hit the bell. If you enjoy this video, Come back, go watch some other ones. Follow me on social media, Adam So Fun, and with the SEW on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, seriously, send me pictures of your stuff. Post them on my page. Tag me. You can tag me either, depending on the site, Adam So Fun, or you can tag Adam Ratliff. It doesn't matter. I love to see what you're doing. You all are amazing. You inspire me to make more and more videos, so thank you there. Oh my gosh, the double layer batting is just, I just want to rub it. Until next week, we'll see you all. And remember, at the end of the day, it's just quilting. We want to have a good time. Bye, everyone.